Hopes were high as Ukrainian and Russian officials met face-to-face for the first time in over 3 years. But the talks in Istanbul ended without a breakthrough. Despite quiet effort from United States President Donald Trump to encourage peace, the meeting ended quickly with Russia offering terms Ukraine called unacceptable. With no ceasefire in sight, Ukraine is now urging its Western allies to apply stronger sanctions, and many are asking, is Russia using diplomacy to stall while it gains ground on the battlefield? The meeting took place in a grand palace and lasted less than 2 hours. Russia's lead negotiator Vladimir Medinsky called the talks satisfactory and said more discussions were possible. Now, the only real progress came when both sides agreed in principle to the largest prisoner of war exchange since the war began, 1,000 soldiers each. Still, this small success was overshadowed by larger disagreements, especially Russia's demands and Ukraine's refusal to give up any territory. Now, while talks are on, Marco Rubio has made a statement. Take a look.
Counterparts in the room, along with someone from our team or members of our team at the appropriate level. But I want to be frank, I don't think we don't have high expectations of what will happen tomorrow. And frankly, at this point, I think it's abundantly clear that the only way we're going to have a breakthrough here is between President Trump and President Putin. It's going to require that level of engagement to have a breakthrough in this matter. I don't think anything productive is actually going to happen from this point forward until they engage in a very frank and direct conversation, which I know President Trump is willing to do. But I'm just giving you my assessment, honestly. I don't think it's going to lead to that just because of the structure and how this is all played out. I think the next thing that has to happen here for there to be a breakthrough, if there's going to be one, is going to involve President Trump's direct involvement. And I believe the president shares my assessment.
Right there, the only way a breakthrough is going to be possible is when talks are underway between President Putin and President Trump. Well, soon after the meeting, President Volodymyr Zelensky reached out to key allies, including President Trump and leaders of France, Germany, and Poland, asking for more support, posting on X. Now, Zelensky said Ukraine was ready to move quickly toward peace, but warned that tougher sanctions were needed if Russia refused to agree to an unconditional ceasefire. Now, what has President Trump got to say concerning this whole issue?
It's been a tremendous time, and now it's time to go back home. My daughter had a baby. I'm going to go back home and see that little baby. And then we get back to a lot of work. We'll see what happens with Russia and Ukraine. I think it's something that's just, we got to stop the killing. 5,000 people a week. As soon as we can set it up. I would actually leave here and go. I do want to see my beautiful grandson, it's a son, and we'll be doing that. But I will tell you that the world is a much safer place right now, and I think in 2 or 3 weeks we could have it be a much safer.
As soon as possible, a meeting will be set between President Trump and President Putin. Well, the coming days will justify the outcome. Meanwhile, Ukraine is particularly frustrated with the terms Russia brought to the table during the meeting. Ukrainian sources say Moscow wants Ukraine to pull out of some occupied regions and draw plans to strengthen its military conditions seen as unacceptable by most Ukrainians. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer said Russia's demands were clearly unacceptable, and the European Union Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said new sanctions were already being planned. Now, even the appearance of the two delegations showed how far apart they were. Russian officials wore business suits, while many Ukrainian delegates came in military uniforms, a powerful sign that Ukraine is still in active conflict. Despite a formal setting, no new date or location was set for the future talks. Now, the problem is one major disagreement is Ukraine's request for the United States to join the talks directly. Russia refused, worried that American involvement could shift the terms against them. But was this intention a genuine one? Russia keeps encroaching Ukrainian territories even while diplomatic talks are ongoing. That no rights, most probably, but however, Ukraine's response was firm. A member of its delegation in Russia's proposals were detached from reality and sounded more like demands for surrender than a path to peace. Now, Defense Minister Rostem Umerov, who led the Ukrainian side, said the next step should be a summit between leaders. However, Russian President Vladimir Putin has so far ignored Zelensky's offer for a one-on-one meeting in Turkey. Meanwhile, Russia claims its position is based on proposals from 2022, which included cuts to Ukraine's military, ending its NATO ambitions and giving up some territory. But Ukraine, now better armed and more supported internationally, says those terms are no longer applicable and amount to a call for surrender. Well, Trump's involvement has made things even more complicated, so it's said. But while his team helped get both sides talking again, his insistence on a Trump-Putin meeting before progress is made raises new concerns. But maybe it's a time for hope, or maybe in the coming days we get to justify that. So some wanna wonder, is the search for peace being shaped more by United States politics than by the needs of the people in Ukraine? And what are the chances that this would mark an end to this destructive conflict? Trump wants to be recognized as a man of peace, and his moves clearly explains that. Well, the world is watching. Most probably this war just needs to get to an end. A lot of lives are being lost.